to our three pack. You know, I mean, for me, I'm going to get into it. And it seems maybe it's a little counterproductive to what we've been hearing today, Todd. Why I'm really focusing on listings and some of the things that I'm doing to focus on listings. Obviously, from what we're hearing today, buyers are in a better position than they were 2 or 3 months ago. However, I think there is as we're seeing, there is a uptick in the amount of properties that are going on the market. So I think it provides a great opportunity. So point number one on focusing on listings is really focus on listings. Understand this is where that you should shift your focus. Again, we are seeing an uptick in listings. So focus on getting some. People are out there putting their house on the market. And Todd, I think I think you would agree with me that we're expecting to see the number of available listings to continue to increase over the next couple months. Correct. And we've always preached listings are king. This is where you want to be. You want to get your hands on listings. I think the nature of listings and the nature of the timelines and what's going to happen to sell the property are I think are just normalizing. That's really the term that I'm using. But I find that sellers are making more of a desperate attempt right now to cash in. And I don't anticipate a market crash, but there is a perception that there is something impending, something looming that is coming that's going to be somewhat devastating to the market. So we're finding that sellers, I think, are on a mad dash to get their house on the market, Todd, and try to cash in before something bad that they think is going to happens, which we're not anticipating. But there's some opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is really time, Mike, to your point, because there is a shift. Now, whether the shift is going to, continue, to Mike's point, it is still a strategy to get your client approved. However, there's a little more inventory, there's fewer people competing, mortgage rates are still, although they're higher, I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they said, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is so damaging to the industry and damaging to life, and all this. And I sat back and I thought for a minute, I'm like, no, 6% is good, and if you can be under 6%, that's great. Sure, okay, we've all missed markets, right, Mike? I mean, we've all been involved in markets where if we had money or we'd seen some certain things, hindsight's 2020, we'd probably own 20 or 30 houses a piece now. But the fact is we didn't. And so, this is that time to really pay attention. So, don't be the person who says, no, this is the way it is, because it shifts every day. So Mike, to your particular point, by focusing on listings, what you're doing is you're taking the volatility out of your business. You're saying, hey, if I go out there and I get a listing, I've got 50,000 realtors that are out there trying to help me sell it. But if I have a buyer, I've only had 7,000 properties to show. Well, now you've got 11,000. So even from that perspective, but I would say if you focus on listings, your business is going to grow this year.
All right. And I think, I'm using the terms like I mentioned, I feel like the market's just normalizing. You can call it a shift. It's just getting back to the way things used to be. Rather than it deteriorating, or whether it's going downhill. What we've experienced over the last 3 years was just out of control and an anomaly. And for me, it's just, and that's the term that I'm using for my clients, is the market is simply just becoming normal. So understand this is where you should shift your focus. Point number two to focusing on listings, Nick, as we move along, is one of the things that I'm doing. And that's what I promise. The things that I'm doing is I am really double downing on these neighborhood reports. I am not and I'm not judging anyone. I'm not a newsletter guy. There's a lot of things that agents are using and that are sending to people that I just don't focus on, and I just don't do, because at the end of the day, I'm wanting to provide people in my sphere of influence and the people that I'm connected with the greatest things of value that I can come up with. And the neighborhood reports, I think, are it. It provides something of value. It keeps them updated to what exactly is going on in their neighborhood. It lets them know when there's new listings. It lets them know when there's new closings in their neighborhood. And it's a fantastic way to stay connected. And you can use the MLS, and I mean, and if people aren't clear on what a neighborhood report is, it's really the exact same thing as setting up a search if you're helping a buyer, but you're just setting it up for someone who bought a home from you or in a specific neighborhood, and you're keeping them updated. I'm a huge fan of our iFound Agent websites and the premium versions of it. When I'm setting anybody and everybody up on these reports, and the system lets me know when people are opening up the reports, when people are visiting the websites, when people are saving searches, and it lets me know who's interested in what's going on in their neighborhood, and track activity, and pick up the phone and have real estate conversations with these people, Todd.
Mike, this is so important because this is exactly the problem or the reason why NAR's annual report, the home buyer home seller report, always shows that buyers, after having worked with a realtor, are always willing to use their realtor again, but down the road don't. To your point, let me ask us all that's out there right now. Have you ever received anything, a drip on a regular basis from any particular place that, realistically it didn't matter? I mean, you get stuff, but I mean, was it really the caliber of information you wanted? Did it really? So in other words, if you want to control where the consumer goes, and you have your own iFound website, and then you use this strategy Mike's providing right now, what's going to happen is when those people go to check that, it takes them back to your personal site. It doesn't take them back to Zillow, doesn't take them back to Armless, doesn't take them. It takes them, and you can continue to receive reports on what that activity is, and then tweak it. But to Mike's point, I want to have a relationship with somebody where when I want the information, I can pick up the phone, have a conversation with somebody, and not feel like I'm a stranger. So there's a delicate balance between me feeling comfortable and confident that I can pick up the phone and call Mike Weinstein, and Mike's going to pick up the phone and provide me with the caliber of information that I'm looking for, versus what? I mean, I love recipes. I do all the cooking myself. I mean, I like the holidays. I love all these things. There's an element of warm and fuzzy that just is BS. And to be quite honest with you, get focused and do things that you can hold accountable to getting you the results you're looking for.
Hey, Nick, if I
Nothing like
wanted to
it
learn
on a
more
personal
about
level.
the iFound Agent websites, where would I go?
Yeah, right.
You go to westusawebsite.com where you can sign up for React and pop on over tomorrow and learn all about the iFound West websites.
All right. All right. And pick up the phone and call before they do. Your people in your sphere of influence, your past clients, your present clients, anybody and everybody that owns a home are getting calls from iBuyers and investors. They are getting calls, and you can't be silent. You've got to be part of that noise in their mouth. You got to be, or in their ears. You got to be a voice. I'm dealing with a guy right now. He's just, I'm dealing with. He's got a call from an investor, and I'm trying to show him that you're going to make more money, or you stand to make more money if you put your house on the open market as opposed to going with an investor. And this is the battle. So the people in your sphere of influence, your family members, they are getting calls, and you have to understand that. So you have to pick up the phone. You've got to start calling past and present clients. You got to start calling everybody in your sphere of influence, everybody in your database, but know the market, know your numbers, and know to handle objections. Know what's on their minds, and be able and be in a position to have deeper conversations with them. Because those others, like I said, they're cash investors, Todd. They are still calling. They're calling, they're calling, and you've got to know when your client or somebody in your sphere of influence is getting a call from a cash investor, what is tempting them? Because that is the objection that you have to overcome.
I used to say, Mike, years ago when you and I were doing a lot of new home construction investing, meaning we were working with buyers that were interested in purchasing new homes as an investment. The big thing really was control and help. And so we would tell people, listen, if you get an offer from someone on your property and you think you're even thinking that you might even consider taking it, call me. I can get you an estimated settlement sheet from my escrow officer that I have, and show you a really good approximation of what your net proceeds will be, because, and then I can also bring them into and update them on what you and I all know about the iBuyer market, that realistically they're somewhere between 15 to 27% behind today's market value, and that happens because they implement those strategies upon an unsuspecting seller during the escrow period. And so, these are some of the things that that we really need to know when we're counseling people. But pick up the phone and talk to people. There's nothing you can send them that builds a relationship or builds rapport as well as you on the other end of the telephone. And you don't have to call them all the time. You must have a friend out there. I know you do. Somebody must have a friend. No, I know you've got a friend out there where when somebody calls you, you pick up the phone, you haven't talked to them in a year, and it's just like you talked yesterday, right? Well, that's a friend. And the question is, how many of the people in your database do you have that kind of a relationship with? Because that's what it takes to have your database refer business back to you. Go ahead, Mike.
Back to it. I don't know about you, Todd. I get probably at least 3 calls a week for someone wanting to pay cash for my house.
Or text.
And I'm an agent. So if you are not picking up the phone, they're going to listen to somebody else. So,
right.
All right. So that is our 3-pack. Great opportunities right now in today's market to really pick up some listings. But at the end of the day, nothing will substitute picking up the phone and having real estate conversations with people. So